Right to education. The Constitution guarantees this fundamental right to every kid aged between 6 to 14 to have free and equal education. Where is this education provided? In private schools? Absolutely not. In government schools? Yes. How's the infrastructure of the government schools? Well, from a logistic standpoint, in every 10 kilometers of radius, we do have a government school. That means in the text of it, the law is implemented. But how about the spirit of the law? That's what we are here to question. I am you, the man on the street. So, fundamental question that comes in mind is the custodians of these policies, of the constitutional institutions, are the bureaucrats. They run the country. Politicians are the decision makers, but largely the bureaucrats run the country. Where do their kids study? How about the other government officials? Where do their kids study? Their children study mostly in the private schools, institutions. And when it comes to higher education, we can check as much of data. Most of them have their kids studying outside of India. So why not make it a mandate for all of these bureaucrats, the government officials, to put their kids only in the government school? You know what this will do? This will improve the standards of the government school. Instead of going that way, do you know the direction the governments are taking, the state governments? They're even outsourcing the jobs of the teachers in the government schools. They're putting them on contract in Samhita. At the same time, in every nook and cranny of the country, the private primary and secondary schools are popping up like nobody's business. It has become a mafia. Who owns these schools? Is this not a mockery of the right to education? At the very start, you put the kids, the young talent, the future of India at a disadvantage. Now these bureaucrats or the government employees might say that my kid has a right to decide the school that he or she wants to go into. Well, why don't you ask the question when you apply for a passport and you have to have the NOC from the respective departments that you work in? Or when you travel outside of India for your personal pleasures, why do you need an NOC? Why no questions are asked then? It is the responsibility of the government and the government employees and the bureaucrats to ensure that the right to education is followed in spirit, not just in letter. When their kids go to the school, then you are a stakeholder. Then you'll make sure that the schools, their standards, their teachers, the facilities is up to the mark. With this one stroke, you will change the whole system. Right now, nobody cares because their kids are not getting impacted. It is somebody's kid. And these parents, they cut all of their expenses, deprioritize everything else, and put their priority in ensuring that their kids go to a private school. Don't abuse the right to education like that just by following the letter. We have as many government schools, but look at the conditions. Look at their teacher to students ratio. Look at how many of them and what has been the strength of these schools over the years. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? We are still not a capitalist country. And even if we are, and if we compare at all the capitalist countries in the world over, the most developed nations the world over, education is a government's priority. They control it. Even in the America, even in the Scandinavian countries, even in China, even in Russia, equal right to education and the same level of education is provided to every citizen. And that's why there is no disadvantage. You have to, equality is not just about having something available. It has to also meet the standards of that availability. It's as good as somebody who is, let's say, a 5'8" tall and somebody who's 6 feet tall, if you have to look across the wall, you have to provide the stool that both of them at least stand to the same level, that they can see the same view. That's not what is happening. And if any government employee, any bureaucrat says, well, I would not be okay for it, well, you're free to leave the job. But if you're in the job, you have to follow the rules. You have to implement those rules. After all, government is behind the recruitment of all of these bureaucrats and government officials. So why is this double standards? We can't lag ourselves behind in the primary and the secondary education to begin with. The second question we like to ask is why this right to education is provided to kids up to 14. You're not done with schooling by then. Why not it? Why shouldn't it be extended to 18 or 20 years or to the college degrees? That is how it needs to be, so that anyone who is interested in the sort of the field of education should have that access, not because their parents cannot afford it. Where one is born is not one's choice, but how one lives, where one studies, what talent one develops, what skill set one takes more interest in and works hard from there. There has to be some sort of an even ground. We can't change the other things. Least that can be done is to provide schooling and equal schooling for one and another, and the schools have to be under the national policy and priority of the government. Government schools have to improve. All these private institutions, even the trust, they need to be investigated and see who are the people behind it, how much of profiteering they're doing from it, so that all the energy and focus has to be to uplift that very kid who goes to the school, who doesn't know about the world, who has not been adulterated, but who's ready to work hard to achieve the dreams that he or she has heard of, thought of, and wants to get to. Stay tuned. Right to education must be treated and implemented not in letter but in spirit.